Hi, this is Matt Donegan at Business Spotlight. I'm here with Mick from Jointflows. Mick, tell me about you. Tell me about your business.
Hey, Matt, thank you for having me. My name is Mick. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Jointflows. We are a predictability tool for CEOs and CROs. We help them get more control and visibility over their progress pipeline so that business can become more predictable, and we accelerate essentially sales cycles and reduce deal slippage. So I've got a little bit of a weird background. I used to be a professional gymnast for about 10 years. I did the World Games, which is the equivalent of the Olympic Games for the non-Olympic sports. And then I finished my sport career age 24, and I transitioned into a sales role, basically. I found the similarities between sports and sales extremely strong.
Yeah.
And despite being a little bit more cerebral, versus the physical aspect of sports, I find a lot of common factors between the two industries. So naturally, I progressed into my sales path from SDR to first line manager to VP of sales, and today I help CROs and CEOs with their sales and revenue targets.
Excellent. So how long has Jointflows been going?
So we've been going to market for about 4 months properly. We've been in the industry for about a year and a half. The first 12 months, I would say, was about kind of getting started, building and finishing the MVP, and then going through a design partner phase with our early adopters, which was a massive success. And then since March this year, we've been going outbound intentionally, and we are starting to see that hockey stick trajectory, which is very, very motivating.
Fantastic. I'm sure it is. So I've got a question about your competitive nature. When I asked this early in the interview, because it really struck me there. Do you find that the sales environment and the competitive and challenging nature of sales, you said there's a lot of similarity between them. What do you think are your personal attributes that allowed you to be an athlete and to really be successful in sales and then building a SaaS company?
I think grit, and I think there are three factors which are similar to anyone, I think, who's elite level in whatever they're doing. I think there's perseverance, there is grit, and there is endurance. And by endurance, I mean being able to stay in the mud without any rewards for a very long time. So delayed gratification is another word for that.
Yeah.
And some of it is kind of innate. I think like by nature, I'm a little bit more competitive than perhaps your average person.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it has been kind of hardwired through sports and having to fight for a position, having to fight for a team in a place in the team, having to fight for not being on the bench on the next tournament, and because you're only as good as the last tournament, you always kind of have to question yourself to go get that next edge, go get that next level of improvement, which maintains you at that level.
So I think I can add another one into that as well. And I think it also relates to the product a little bit, and that's focus. So having that focusing on the why and then delivering the goals that deliver that why. All the work that you do is into delivering that why. So you develop the SaaS product, which reduces the sales cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you see the opportunity? Tell me about the moment where you thought, okay, this is what we need to do in this marketplace.
Yeah. So it started with me trying to solve my own issues around control and visibility on the deals. I used to run sales team, and I would get grilled on a daily, if not on an hourly basis, on, oh, where's this deal at, and are we gonna get this signed, and are we gonna do this and that? And quite frankly, there was never a better answer than what was in the CRM systems, which was the deal was stagnating in some of one of those 5 stages you've got typically in your funnel. And it was part of a set of deals that were also there with different factors, different contexts, different source. Like it just didn't mean anything anymore at scale. And there was I couldn't find a system which was enabling me as a seller and a sales leader to capture the buying requirements, align our sales processes and our sales workflows to those specific one-off requirements.
Yeah.
And then at scale, stitch that together so that I can then give like a summed up number to my management. So it was always anecdotal. It was always a political, trying to kind of give a number, but not too big so that I then had to deliver it, but not too low so that then I got in troubles.
Yeah.
So went around, just Googled it like you would do 5 years ago, and I couldn't find anything. I was always back to, hey, have you tried Salesforce? Have you tried HubSpot? Have you tried CRM platforms? Which I had for 15 years. So we started building that, and then I went into another company, and I saw the scale of the problem on a much bigger company, and I think that's when the penny dropped, because I felt like not only this solves my personal issues, but by solving this and by being my own ICP, I can solve everybody's issues at the same time.
Yeah.
So we went to market.
That's a really good idea, actually. It's coming from a personal place, isn't it? It's coming from, you've experienced a specific pain point that has a undeniable commercial impact on the business. I think it's very true that when you look at the vast majority of sales teams, everything's opaque. This deal's going to come in next week, and what's happening about that deal. And as a salesperson, you always want to drive the sale. You're optimistic, but actually what you're providing now is clarity and transparency to the sales process. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly this. So you could call this a project management tool for revenue teams.
Right. Okay.
But we're uniquely placed to be able to capture both the buying and the seller journeys and stitch them together to then provide analytics and recommendations, where 99.9% of the solutions in the market are exclusively focused on what's happening internally or what's happening externally. They never branch the two together. Yeah. So forecasting becomes wrong if you only have one side of the story. Absolutely. How can you forecast when you can't understand the buying requirements?
Yes. It takes it from the world of being anecdote into the world of data.
That's right.
And if you've got a scalable sales operation, you don't want anecdote, you want data. You want clean, cold, hard facts, because that's what appears on your bottom line every month.
The art and the science. And I think that for a long time, sales has been about the art, ask the right question, create relationships, And nowadays, because of buying committees becoming bigger and bigger, complex, the complex nature of the sector, the competitive landscape, like the commoditization of technology, you have to be a good scientific seller. Like you have to have the science to it.
So what one of the most highly regarded and most successful sales practices is challenger sales.
Yeah.
And your product fits into the challenger sale format really well, doesn't it?
Yeah. The best questions. That's exactly that. So there's methodology, and then I think there's two disciplines: sales methodology and deal management. Right. Yeah. Sales methodology is your challenger sale, your med pick, your winning design, which is extracting the information. But it's really a translator, right? It's really about having everyone in the team speaking the same language when it comes to qualifying opportunities. But 80% of deal progression is around deal management. And deal management is you being a good project manager, aligning your teams with the external teams, identifying requirements to then deliver against, creating evidence of the problem, aligning evidence of the solution to that problem, and getting this validated.
Yeah.
Deal management, you're either born with it, you're a good project manager, you're logistically skilled, Most of the time, you're not as a salesperson, you're more on the art than the science,
Mm.
or you're a little bit older, quite frankly, and through experience, you've acquired those skills, right? And I think what Jointflows does, it enables anyone in the industry to be impeccable deal managers and get the project management skills through the platform itself.
Yeah, perfect. So having understood the rationale for the business, for the product, and how it aligns with the more scientific sales techniques that are currently becoming more widely used in the industry, and quite rightly so. Who does the product really suit? Who's your most what customers are going to come to you for your product?
Yeah, so you have to have an element of volume. It's either a volume of deals, so many deals, then that becomes hard to project manage all the deals at once, or a volume of tasks and complexity within the deals. And typically that's mid-market, enterprise, strategic sales teams. And we are really good at helping the entirety of the commercial chain, from enterprise SDRs, where it's less about the volume, it's more about the quality of the outreach and the structure that you put in place to go get the interest from a selected company, all the way through your customer success. So we've got teams ranging from SDRs to closing AEs, new logo, to implementation managers, onboarding managers, and then customer success and account management, but also all the supporting teams that goes with that.
Oh, that's interesting. So you align it not just from the initial sales process, you even take it through to the onboarding and customer success process.
Yeah, like your clients don't care. You know, at the end of the day, from the client's viewpoint, it's a single experience that they're having with a single company.
Yeah.
Whatever happens on your side as a vendor is your problem, right? And you should not expose your problem to your buyers. You should deal with them. So what we're maintaining is that consistency. We are really big on speaking about accelerated time to value for your buyers.
Yeah.
Get them to the return on investment. Get them to the wow moment. Get them to the, okay, yeah, this is worth it.
Actually, there's another benefit that is aligned to what the product is delivering for the business, but it'll also be aligned to how investable that business is, or for acquisition. Strong businesses have good CRM systems, and they'll be looked at by any acquirer, or any good investor is going to want to know if they're sort of Series B, Series C. They're going to want to know what the sales pipeline is, how achievable it is, and how realistic it is. And obviously having predictable recurring revenue is the gold star for any investable business. What you've got is you've got something, from what I can see, you've got something which is going to provide another level of clarity to an investor or an acquirer in a business. That's quite exciting, actually, from a real, if you're looking at businesses that are really scaling, that's super exciting. And it's going to take the pressure off the CEO as well.
Yeah, it's the ultimate level of control most companies are seeking. They've got their sales funnel, which is that 5-6 stage linear approach to managing a revenue. It's the same as it was 15 years ago, you know, and the whole data model of the companies providing those sales funnel hasn't changed and can't change anymore because of the amount of data they've got that is structured that way. They would have to rip and replace the entirety of the baseline data model. What we've got is a solution that is agnostic to that. We are looking at what it takes to create a partnership, what it takes to implement a solution, and then we're forecasting against it. That's it.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, the clarity, vision, focus. It comes back to focus as well, doesn't it? And that aligns back to your sporting background, having a focus on the why. What's the purpose of doing this? About delivering goals. because that's what sales are. They're always goal driven. So what drives and motivates you now? So you've got the products in the marketplace. Sounds like you're about to start crossing that chasm. So you've gone from MVP, you're in the crossing the chasm stage. What are the challenges that you've got ahead of you at the moment?
That your usual startup issues, which, to your point, Matt, is about what you're focusing on and what you're doubling down on. And when you're in a 1,000-employee company, you can make mistakes because you've got 999 people who can then rescue you. But when you're in a company of 4 or 5 people, whatever mistakes you're gonna make is gonna be amplified exponentially. So it's about getting the right advice, and I think that that's something that we've got, which is a little bit special internally, is there's kind of that no ego culture in place, and like most of the sales team has a sports background. Like we've got ultra marathon runners, we've got boxers, we've got like myself, gymnast, and I think we're very much into that feedback mindset, but don't just get feedback and apply it and then find out.
Yeah.
So it's about focusing, and it's about keeping one another honest, basically, on what's happening in the business.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, so the business, the product hasn't been going for that long. What about your background? So you went from sports to sales to developing a SaaS company.
Yeah.
When I kind of look at that journey, all very goal driven, that keeps on coming back to me, focus and goal. Was there any point where you weren't focused?
Say again?
Was there any point in your journey when you weren't focused?
I don't know. When I was on the dating scene, I think I was a bit less focused. A little bit more over the place, and I think that kind of had a backfired eventually, but that was 15 years ago. I'm a little bit, I don't know, I think I'm a little bit weird in that sense, where I get obsessed with very few things, but it's a very deep obsession.
Yeah.
And a lot of business leaders, they do this to make money, and they want to get rich, and that's the drive. And I don't think the drive for me personally is about becoming a millionaire. Of course, like, we'll take it, but it is very much about, I'm obsessed about solving this issue around control and visibility on deals. I'm obsessed about making the industry better, just the same way as I was obsessed as a gymnast about trying to create a new skill with my name on it, or perfectioning that one skill set that everybody was doing, but having that little edge that would then separate me from the rest. And I think that's very much the drive here. The personal why is really about, which is a little bit weird because I get fueled just as much by failures as I get fueled by victories. That creates a spinning mechanism where the more I fail, the more I get myself motivated. The more success, the more I get myself motivated. Now, my partner, my wife, is really good at kind of pulling me out of that. You keep on failing, just kind of step back a little bit and look at it with a wider lens, because I guess the negative side of that is I'll quite happily go and crash myself against the wall, just because I've gone too far. But that's what the team is for.
So, of course, 2 aspects that lean methodology is, test, learn, carry on, iterate, and failure is often part of that process. And in fact, Edison, one of the greatest inventors of all time, used to celebrate failure because he knew that every single time he failed, he was one step nearer to success.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong in failing as long as you learn from each failure. And it sounds like you're doing that perfectly. So that's that sort of lean methodology. Is that part of the culture of the business? Do you use lean all the time?
I think so. I think it's very much ingrained.
Yeah.
We are trying to get the failure cycles shorter and shorter, so that we don't spend too much time finding out that we failed, which is a challenge, but we're working on it. But yeah, it's very much about, to your point, I think you made just as much progress knowing that something is not working as you do finding out that something does.
Absolutely. What's your biggest learnings been in developing the product, in developing the business, in developing Jointflow?
It's, you deal with people, and you're only as good as the trust you get from them.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of, especially in tech, there's a lot of kind of like lies and hiding the truth and not taking accountability for what you've done that was not right. And I think what I always try to do, and I'm trying to hold myself accountable for, is a high level of honesty in the team.
Yeah.
If you do something wrong, you apologize and you move on.
Yeah.
And then if you do apologize, then that's for the other person to accept the apology and then move on as well. But it has to start with you making the first step towards the redemption, towards the apology.
Yeah. And open and honest communication is what's required, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and just admit when you're wrong. I think that also the message here is it's fine to be honest, but it's good to say when you've not done it right. Like, you've made a mistake. I'm sorry, I've made a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. Can we move on? Done.
I guess there's a massive difference between ego and being self-assured. And being honest is being self-assured, and being egotistical will prevent that honesty in many occasions. You need some ego in developing a business. You've got to have that self-belief. You've done that as an athlete and a gymnast. So your team. So perseverance, focus, honesty, learning. So what's been your biggest learning then?
You need to surround yourself with people who are better than you. And I think that's really where it's make or break. You're not gonna know it all. But for as long as you know that you don't know, I think you're able to get the support you need. And it's hard, because you, especially as a founding team, you want to think but often you don't, because it's a little bit it's the opposite, right? You're just completely new to what you're doing. So get support, like surround yourself with people who've done it before and can help you move forward.
Yeah, and listen to them and take in their support and advice. So what's next for Jointflow then?
So it's scaling. We've got a very unique advantage, I think, where there's a big portion of our revenue which comes from existing accounts. So we don't need to be too aggressive on capturing new clients. And I want to nail the product to like nth level. Basically, I need the product to be extremely good at what it does, and even if it's extremely specific, I want this to be full and complete. So the next step is to get to that level, technologically speaking, and then it's just about fueling the business.
Yeah. Sounds right. Sounds like the right steps. So one last question, and that's going to be around: have you had an education or an educational piece or a bit of a learning along the way from somebody else, from a third party? Might be a book, might be a video, might be a business leader, where you've been inspired and you've taken one bit of advice or one bit of knowledge and applied that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people spend their time. The way I see things is you've got three zones. You've got your comfort zone, you've got the compete zone, and then you've got what I call hell, right? And a lot of people are moving back and forth between the comfort zone into the compete zone, but they spend 80% of the time in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
So whenever they're in that compete mode, it's extremely painful, it's extremely hard, it's a lot of unknown, and often they fail. What we are trying to do is to do the opposite journey. I try to stay for as long as possible into the hell zone and then move back to the compete zone when it counts, on deals, on pitches, on investor calls. And that journey, that backward journey is way more comfortable because everything is much harder where I actually live. Like, you know, and I've learned that through sports. I've had a lot of my teammates who would be very comfortable training, and they were like world champion at training. If there was a training competition, they would win, but then they would compete, and they would get out of that comfort zone and compete in a very different environment, and they would fail almost 90% of the time. And I was very bad at training because I was always training in the hell zone. So I was like, but like silly things. I would blindfold myself. I would tie my hands together. I would do 4 trainings a day instead of 3 and be extremely exhausted. Have the music at full volume so that I couldn't focus. So when I was coming back, it was easier. And I think that's something you need a rest every now and then have no zones at all. Like it's just laying down on your bed. But I think that's the mindset, and then that's what I've learned around. Make it hard for yourself so that you make it easier for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I mean, the worst place to be is in the comfort zone. Absolutely agree. And I think lots of people strive to be in the comfort zone, but nothing good ever happened in the comfort zone. Nothing good ever happened. It's unique to hear someone saying that they strive to be in hell. So
I don't like it too much. Like, don't get me wrong, but I like it even less when I go compete and I fail.
yeah.
You know, so this
Like,
journey is easier.
failure hurts more than comfort gives pleasure, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fascinating. Look, it's been a joy speaking to someone who's utterly focused and happy to be in hell. I think that's got to be unique for me. I've never had that before. So look, let's keep in contact. I've really enjoyed speaking today. Really want to check out the product. I'd like to have a little play around with it. I mean, we deal with a lot of businesses who, obviously, all businesses are in the revenue generation business. So I'm going to check out the product. Fascinated to see what your journey is going to be like. Really believe that you're going to scale this business. So I take my hat off to you right now. So thank you so much.
Matt.
It's been a real pleasure. Let's catch up soon.
Thank you, Matt. Bye-bye.
Thanks, mate. Bye.